profiled and discriminated against. Blame them for the cost of eggs? Is that what we're doing here? We're blaming them because you guys can't get corporate greed on a side that is a disease that is killing our economy? People can't afford housing? You think it's because of our immigrant neighbors? No. If you cared truly about fixing our immigration system, you'd go fix it so that U.S. citizens married to undocumented spouses can actually adjust their status, where we have mixed statuses because for 30 years we've ignored and vilified immigrants. Enough is enough.
She tried to make it emotional, and she almost broke down in Congress arguing that enforcement of existing housing laws is somehow racist, cruel, and discriminatory. But Dr. Ben Carson didn't raise his voice, didn't insult anyone. He calmly responded with the truth, the law, and something Washington seems to have forgotten. Simple common sense. And after hearing him speak, it became clear this wasn't about immigration, compassion, or community. This was about Congress choosing emotion over law, theatrics over truth, and ignoring American citizens suffering right here at home. Before we go further, make sure you hit subscribe, like this video, and enable notifications, because Liberty Pundit actually exposes what the media distorts.
Section 214 of the Housing and Community Development Act of 1980 specifically states that the Secretary of HUD is prohibited from providing housing assistance to people who are in the country illegally. And what people sometimes don't understand is that we have millions of legal Americans in line waiting for these very scarce resources. What Congresswoman and many others also don't realize is that we have provided a mechanism whereby people who are affected, illegals who are affected and can't find housing, can have delayed action for 6 months, which can be renewed twice for a total of 18 months, which of course is plenty of time for Congress to do its job. So, you know, for them to suggest that I should break the law, what is the real implication? That we can just pick and choose the laws we want to enforce and embrace? Of course we feel sympathy for people. Of course we don't want anybody out on the streets. But the real thing that is hurting people is our failure to address this immigration system, the rules that are drawing people here and keeping them here, and that are so unfair to American citizens who have been paying taxes and working here. We take in 1.1 million people legally through our immigration system, which is far more than any other country, and let that system work. But it can't work when we have all these perverse incentives which are drawing people here.
So we have hundreds of thousands of Americans sleeping outside every night who are homeless, and they're everywhere.
Absolutely.
And you're telling us that there are many thousands of illegal aliens living at public expense in public housing, and Congress has some concern about what's going to, I mean, why would that be a concern at all? Foreign citizens breaking our laws, why wouldn't we spend all of our time and all of our money, all of our energy worrying about Americans who are living on the streets?
Well, you would think we would do that. You know, whenever you get on an airplane, in the initial announcements, they say if there's an emergency, your oxygen mask will drop down, put yours on first, and then assist your neighbor. Obviously, we need to take care of our people. Doesn't mean that we're not compassionate people. It means that we're logical people. And let's take care of our people. I'm very happy. I told Congresswoman and others, if you can find a way that I can legally do what you want me to do, please tell me what it is. I'm all ears.
How did she respond?
Change the subject, of course. They don't seem to want to deal with the ideal that Congress is the one who makes the laws. Instead, they rather just say to you, why don't you break the law so that we can feel good about ourselves? Why don't they do their jobs? That's what they were elected to do. The American people have a real choice to make here. They need to decide what kind of people do they want representing us. And it can't just be somebody whose name you recognize. It needs to be people who are willing to roll up their sleeves and do the tough things that need to be done in order for our country to prosper. And when our country is prosperous, I think we can then turn our attention to some of these other countries and see what we can do to help them. But we need to get ours in order first.
So Congresswoman Maloney is pressuring you to break the law. She's a lawmaker. She could try to change the law. She's not bothering. Isn't that prima facie evidence that she's not a serious person? I mean, that's buffoonish.
Well, it is very sad. It would be nice if she were the only one, but there are many who feel that way, and I don't think they've really thought through what's going on. They just allow themselves to be caught up in the moment, and you know, they want to be popular, and they're not thinking long term about what the impact is of what they're doing. They're not thinking about our children and our grandchildren and what they will have to face. It's just what makes me look good today.
I've noticed. Secretary Ben Carson, thanks very much for that.
Thank you, Tucker.
So what happened? Rashida Tlaib delivered a passionate speech warning that housing laws would militarize neighborhoods, separate families, push profiling in our communities, and even claimed that people like her mother would be forced to carry their passport at all times. She said this is about humanity. She warned that this housing policy would fuel hate and fear. She sounded emotional, nearly in tears, framing this entire discussion as a racist attack on immigrant families. But on the other side was Ben Carson, a former neurosurgeon, a calm, collected, soft-spoken official who responded by reminding America of something both critical and undeniable. We have laws, and those laws aren't cruel, hateful, or racist. They're designed to protect resources, maintain fairness, and put struggling American citizens first. He explained that Section 214 of the Housing and Community Development Act of 1980 explicitly prohibits providing public housing to people living in the United States illegally. He didn't write it. He didn't invent it. He is simply enforcing it. The law has existed for over 40 years, and now suddenly following it is hateful? No, following it is responsible. Then he pointed out something the emotional speeches never mention. There are millions of American citizens, including single mothers, veterans, and elderly citizens, sitting on waiting lists for public housing. There are American families sleeping in cars, in motels, on city sidewalks, and under bridges. And yet Washington is debating whether taxpayer-funded housing should go to people who are not even here legally. Carson didn't yell. He didn't accuse. He simply said what every American with common sense already knows. We put our own citizens first, not because we lack compassion, but because compassion without order destroys a country. And then he said the line that shut the whole argument down. If Congress doesn't like the law, they can change it. But don't ask him, a federal official, to break the law so politicians can feel good. That's the part no one in that chamber wanted to hear. Congress wants to point fingers, give speeches, and emotional performances. But they don't want to do the actual job, make laws or reform them. Instead, they pressure officials to ignore existing laws so they can continue playing political theater. It's like Carson said, they don't want to do that job. They want me to do it. But that's not how the Constitution works. And what's even worse, not a single member of Congress had an actual solution for the housing crisis. They just shouted racism, fear-mongering, and hate. It's always easier to attack motives than to address reality. Let's be real. America is not cruel because it enforces its laws. America is not hateful because it prioritizes its citizens. It is responsible. It is fair. It is sovereign. And one more thing. Enforcing immigration law is not anti-immigrant. It is pro-law. Millions of immigrants came to this country legally and respectfully. They waited, they applied, they followed the rules. What message does it send to them if Congress says, skip the line, break the law, get rewarded? That is not compassion. It is chaos. It is disrespectful to legal immigrants, to taxpayers, and to citizens. In that moment, Ben Carson represented something rare in Washington, reality. And Rashida Tlaib, she represented what Washington does best, emotion, drama, and deflecting responsibility. But Americans are waking up. We are tired of emotional tantrums replacing legal truth. We are tired of passion without policy. We are tired of politicians pretending compassion means ignoring the law. The real compassion is putting Americans first, fixing our system, and then helping others the right way. That's the difference between being ruled by feelings or being guided by principles? If you agree, drop a comment below. Should public housing go to illegal immigrants while American citizens wait? Or should we enforce the law, protect our resources, and prioritize our own people first? Subscribe for more truth-filled commentary. This is Liberty Pundit, where facts rise above emotion and law defeats chaos.